Benedict Spence is here. Benedict, very good morning to you.
Right.
Front page, let's start off with the Telegraph, because they've even thought this is the most important story of the day. Andrew's links to China spy revealed. The suspect was so close to Prince that he went to his birthday before MI5 identified him as some kind of threat.
Yeah, which I suppose in some way actually doesn't reflect very well on MI5. I know we're all going to have a good laugh at Andrew, but at the same time, should they not have vetted this person before he turned up at a Prince's
You would think
party?
they might have said to Andrew at some point, by the way, don't get too close to this bloke, we think he's a bit of a spy.
Might be a bit dodgy. Yeah. I mean, I particularly enjoy the line in here, which is that apparently this individual revealed, I suppose, to his paymasters that Andrew was in a very desperate situation. He was looking for anything to grab onto. So might not be averse to a little bit of cash from Beijing here and there.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Andrew seems to spend most of his life trying to make sure that he's being subsidised by somebody.
It's just the very sort of subtle, I suppose, very sort of Mandarin way in which it was put. He's not in the best of situations, and there might be an opening here. This person was apparently so high up that he was told by somebody else that you sit very close to the top of a tree that many other people would like to sit on. In some ways, actually, I think it's rather charming that the Chinese think that Andrew actually is a person worth investing in.
Because he doesn't know anything, does he?
Exactly.
I mean, literally, all you're going to get out of Andrew is that, you know, I used to know some people a long time ago when I was allowed to talk to them, but now I'm not.
Yes.
But apparently this guy was at his 2020 birthday party, so 4 years ago, and he's so secretive, this spy, that he's only known as H6.
H6. That should have been a giveaway.
That should have been, you know, hello, how are you? What's your name? My name is H6. Really? Okay, then. Well, maybe you're a spy.
It's a really low-budget spy name as well.
It is.
It's not 007, not M,
right.
H6. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are 5 more somewhere, presumably. But, gosh, what an exciting way to start the day.
And here we go, a letter from a senior advisor to the Duke, Duke of York, of course, was found on H6's phone, stating that he was authorised to act on behalf of the royals in engagements with potential partners and investors in China. In their 53-page ruling, the judges have said the Duke could have been made vulnerable to the misuse of H6's influence.
Yes, it's, again, just one thing after another with Andrew just reflects that he is not a very good judge of character. It doesn't matter if it is somebody with a private island that...
Well, look who he married. I mean, let's start there.
I've forgotten about that. I've been thinking about all the people with links to criminality, and there's his ex-wife, who apparently he still lives with, or has sort of a very...
No,
I mean, what's going on
they
there?
share the 30-room cottage, strangely called a cottage, in Windsor, but you never know which room she's going to be in. It's a bit like a game of whack-a-mole.
Is that his punishment, do you think, for eternity?
I think so. Occasionally she pops out of a room and goes, oh! You know, I can't imagine...
With a collection tin to rattle. I don't have anything, please.
No.
Leave me alone. Talk to H6. He'll help you out. No, I mean, what a strange and sort of very undignified... I don't want to say end, because he's still in his 50s, 60s. He's not quite that at that stage yet. But it's just going to be, for Andrew, I think, one thing after another, where if he's in the news, it's only ever going to be for something negative.
Yes, exactly right. Although I suppose we should take it slightly seriously, because what they've told, when there's been a hearing which has been told that the contents of the businessman's mobile telephone were downloaded when he was stopped under counter-terrorism laws at a UK border point in 2021. The contents revealed that the Duke authorised the man to set up an international financial initiative known as the Eurasia Fund to engage with potential partners and investors in China.
Yeah, it's... I mean, again, this is supposed to be... Once upon a time, actually, Andrew was sort of very highly rated as somebody who did a lot of business, got things done. That was his role within the House of Windsor. That was the niche that he carved out.
People used to say to me that actually he was a really good operator in places like Dubai. If you went there to do some kind of trade mission, you brought Andrew with you. They all wanted to meet him. He was very good at doing the old handshakes and, you know, chatting people up.
Yeah, very good at schmoozing people, which is, on the one hand, you kind of think, well, there are a lot of people who are very good at schmoozing. It helps to be a royal prince, I suppose, in that situation. One has to wonder, was he especially talented at it? He might have been very good at it. But did his title and who he was actually related to help? I suspect that there was some of that. But again, there's also the serious point, which is that this isn't the first case of a Chinese spy being identified as being rather too close to, I wouldn't actually say levers of power in this case, but, you know, the institutions in this country, we've had them in Parliament, in both the Commons and the House of Lords. We've had them working in sort of various businesses across the UK. It's becoming more, I think,
I think we should certainly be aware of what China's up to, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, China is
within a hair's breadth of when Theresa May, I think, was in charge of putting Huawei, the Chinese sort of state telephone company, into every single aspect of British life.
Yes, and it's one of those difficult things where China is not like the Soviet Union. It's not interested in sort of converting Britain to communism or anything like that. But that's not to say that in its bid for sort of economic and military independence from the United States, basically, it isn't going to be rather aggressive towards countries that it considers aggressive. Right. And we have had a volte-face on this. We were under Cameron, of course, and under Theresa May, as you say, very pro having them investing in the UK and taking all of their kit, all of their technology. Then we remembered, they might not actually be too friendly. Now we've decided to pivot away from that. The problem is they build half the stuff that we actually need, what this government wants, what the Labour government wants. You know, they build all the solar panels, basically, and they have a big say in the building of wind farms and things like that. They've managed to position themselves as a country that actually Western leaders can't do without necessarily, which is an amazing lack of foresight that a communist country might do that at some point.
I'm amazed that Keir Starmer, having gone to almost every country in the world since he's been Prime Minister, hasn't yet made it to Beijing to go and talk to President Xi.
Yeah, I mean, he met Xi a couple of weeks ago, and I know that Xi is not.
But he got nothing from him. This was in Brazil, wasn't it?
It was, yes, exactly. It was in Brazil, and I've never seen Xi less interested in meeting somebody.
Right.
And I think that does actually. This is not just trying to dampen down Britain, do down Britain or anything like that. I genuinely think he just possibly didn't even recognise or know who he was. Right. He certainly didn't seem to care. And as you say, what little we're managing to get out of China these days, we are an addendum now to either the European Union or the United States. Partly because we don't know what we
also
are.
ran.
Yeah,
we're not involved in any way, shape or form in any kind of global conversation.
And that's not because we couldn't be. It's because we've chosen not to be. Having left the European Union, we've then gone, right, but we're going to still align ourselves with them. So we're going to make ourselves less important. And we're not actually going to build closer ties with the US. We're not going to try and set ourselves up as a competitor to either. So what are we doing? We're just going to sat in the middle of nowhere, not quite meeting our NATO commitments, not quite got an economy that's growing. Why would the Chinese take interest in
well, it sort of sums up, doesn't it? Two-tier, never here, free gear Kier, as we like to call him. Also, of course, as soon as he saw President Xi, the only thing that he did manage to generate out of him was the fact that he then immediately, after seeing Keir Starmer, locked up a load more people in Hong Kong for, for sedition. And decided that they were all, people that he didn't want hanging around.
Yeah, that was a particularly bad moment for British diplomacy, given that a couple of days before, Xi had a meeting with Joe Biden in somewhere else in Latin America, I think in Peru of all places, where Xi had basically said, we're not interested in listening to what you have to lecture us on. These are our red lines that we're not going to be lectured on, one of which was Taiwan, one of which was Hong Kong, one of which was their economic model. And what's the first thing Starmer does? He brings all of these things up. Uyghurs, Hong Kong, this, that and the other, and so Xi goes, Right, okay.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks so much
Adios. For that. Let's talk about Christmas parties, because it's always at that time of year. This time of year we worry about going to them. We've got a Christmas party coming up next week. I don't think I'm going to go, frankly. I'm over it. But Buckingham Palace apparently has one on the front page of The Sun. It spiralled out of control. Police were called to a nearby bar after glasses were hurled and punches were thrown. And they describe trouble flaring when up to 50 servants arrived, right? I love this turn of phrase. 50 servants arrived for a pre-arranged all-bar-one bash after palace drinks. And there's the front page. Oh, you've got it there already. It's fantastic. I mean, if you ever go to any of the pubs around Victoria, which is sort of around Buckingham Palace, there are several famous ones known. I mean, we used to, as newspaper guys, we used to know where to go to sort of talk to the guys that were working inside the palace and get stuff from them. But, I mean, this, even for them, this is quite extraordinary, isn't it? Bar brawls.
Must have been a very difficult year, perhaps. They finally let their hair down, and there's some grievances that are being aired.
Yes.
Or, who knows? I mean, to be honest, it's one of those things where everybody knows of at least one Christmas party that they've been to, or usually that they left just before this happens. That tends to be where things flare and things get out of hand. I mean, just the idea of 50 of these people piling into a venue all at once.
A 24-year-old woman seems to have been the cause of it all. A maid, as they describe her, went mad, they say, went crazy. And she was arrested at the Christmas party by the police. She started throwing glasses to people. Security tried to calm her down, but she continued to throw glasses, it is claimed. I mean, why are we employing people at Buckingham Palace. Who like, oh, here comes the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Get out! You know, chucking some glasses at him. You know, I've had a few drinks. Sorry about that. It'll be fine.
You pick your moments. You're very rarely going to get a chance like that again.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you what, though, we've got drunken, disorderly people working in Buckingham Palace.
Very British, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's fine. We've got Chinese spies going to Buckingham Palace.
Spies,
anybody.
Drunken, disorderly people. The Sun's sources said that it had been a very tough night for everyone involved. Another one said someone kicked off outside with smashing glasses, then got arrested. Details of the drama emerged as officers across the country hold Christmas parties with warnings they can spiral out of control. This is the other thing. We're now getting lots of politically correct instructions as to what you can and cannot do at Christmas parties. For example, you cannot apparently hold some mistletoe over your head and ask somebody to kiss you, which I think is fair enough. I think that's a really stupid idea. It's a pretty odd thing to do.
Yeah.
I find people who want to defend that slightly weird. You know, when people go, you can't even have mistletoe anymore.
I was going to say, I quite like the idea of hanging up mistletoe precisely so that people can go whoa and avoid each other. That's kind of, I always thought that was kind of the unspoken rule is not that you stand there waiting, but that you actively just do the strange sort of limbo dance to not be underneath.
Yeah, it's a kind of David Brenty thing to do.
Yeah, if you take it very seriously, then, well, I mean...
Yeah, there's a girl from accounts I'd like to kiss, so I'm going to stand under this piece of green greenery that I bought.
Because that'll convince her, having waited all year.
Absolutely, very strange, very weird.